Good afternoon. My name is Rosilyn Temple. 2011, November 23rd, which was Thanksgiving Eve. My son, Antonio Thompson, who was only 26 years old, was found murdered in his apartment. That basically destroyed me. I didn't know what I was going to do, how I was going to do it. Born and raised in Kansas City, been here all my life, seen families time and time again on the news that have lost someone, have lost their child. Someone had been victimized, been murdered. And I would always walk by my TV and grab my heart. And I say I felt sorry, and which I did. But I never stopped to take time to support that family. Because they're part of being in a community where violence is happening over and over. We should come out and stand in awe. And be there not even knowing who the loved one is, but most of all remembering that they were part of this community. My son, Antonio, whom I call Pee-wee, he was 108 homicide that year. That was Thanksgiving Eve. How would I must go on? I've seen time and time how the new elected police officer chief that we had came into our community 3 months prior to my son being murdered, Chief Daryl Forte. I heard about him coming out to every homicide scene that occurred in our community. And that was Pee-wee's, my son's first apartment he just had got. As a mother, I told my son, to keep your place, you got to do the right thing in life. He did. He went and got him a job at H&R Block. He was due to start his job December the 3rd, 2011. That's the same day I buried him. So I had to meet this chief of police. And I seen the police department had a job on their hands. And I seen when they wrote my son's apartment off that night, they found my son at 10:30 that night. They didn't move him out of his apartment till 6 that morning. I remember all my family, all people from the community, his friends that were there. But by the time 6 o'clock that morning came, no one was there but me and my youngest son and the police department and the media. So I reached out to Daryl Forte. I called his office over and over and over. I remember his secretary, Liz, she said, Miss Temple, as soon as I get a date and time, I will call you and give it to you. So you don't have to call me anymore. So I remember I still called. And me and her chuckled and laughed about it. And so when she told me about that date and time, I remember walking into Chief Daryl Forte's office. And I said, my name is Rosilyn Temple. My son is Antonio Thompson. He was murdered November 23rd, 2011, Thanksgiving Eve. I need to go to them homicide scenes. He said, Miss Temple, I've been looking for someone like you. So that started my fight. I started going to a first homicide scene in 2012. So every time it's a homicide committed in the inner city of Kansas City, Missouri, I'm called up by the murder squad. We have 4 homicide squads. We have 6 detectives in each squad. We have 1 sergeant. So when they get that call, anytime, day or night, rain, sleet, or snow, I get up and go. That was a personal thing I needed. Because that year out there with my son standing, and knowing that they do an investigation, and I wanted them to give me their best. I didn't want to disturb them, but I didn't understand what the process was. So I started learning the process. I was a machine operator. I worked at 12-hour shifts, 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening. My job consumed my life. But when my 3rd child, he was my number 3, had 4 children, when he was murdered, I could no longer work that job. I remember going back to work a week or prior after my son was buried. And I remember I just turned my machine off. And the gesture said, Miss Rosilyn, where are you going? And I just walked straight to human resource. I remember knocking on their door, and I remember telling them, as of today, it's my last day. I could no longer work here. He said, Miss Temple, can you finish your shift? It was 9 a.m. in the morning. I said, sir, I can't. I remember cleaning my locker. I was going to get my lunch out the refrigerator. And when I walked out of it, when I got to that parking lot, got in my car, and I rode the parking lot, I felt free. The fight began. Enough was enough. Kansas City today, we're at 22 homicides. We're the same where we was last year. We have a problem. We left out of last year with 136 homicides. The year before, 151, and it goes on and on. Anytime we allow anyone in our community and we get to 100 homicides, that's a problem. No one is exempt from homicide, no one. But we do have a black-on-black homicide problem. and it starts in our home. Homicide is preventable. And I say again, it starts in our home. It goes for a generation of things that we have taught our kids previous. I remember being raised myself by my mom, single parent. And you know, as a child, you run the house and you tattletelling, and they said, stop tattletelling. And I didn't understand, so I raised my children the same way. So today I know, sit down and talk to my grandkids and ask them, what is a good tale? Explain to them, it's okay to tell, but what is a good tale? And one thing we do as people, we say, what goes in my house stays in my house. Well, some things go on in our home we shouldn't keep covered up. So let's start mental health issues. Let's start trauma. We have a lot of PTSD in our community. We have a lot of bipolar, schizophrenia. We cover up. Until we address this issue on hand and stop saying that is not that's not our business. Well, it is your business. Anytime someone is murdered in your community, anything we see, we hear, we just speak out. Because the only way we're going to allow our community to be more safer if we get these people off the street or get them some help. People make bad choices every day. I make them all the time. I'm quite sure all of you, some of you make them too. So I'll probably make another one when I leave out this door. But what am I going to do? I'm going to try to do better. And I go back to my son, Antonio. He was a unique individual. All my kids is uniquely made for me. They have their own personalities. And Pee-wee was the one, he always had a laugh. He always would make me laugh. He was a trendsetter. He would start his own clothing line in his own self and do things, and people follow. But one thing I do know, KC Mothers in Charge have changed my life forever. I'm a part of an organization, part of a movement that's bigger than me. We have 12 chapters in different cities. My founder, Dorothy Johnson Spike, 15 years, she started Mothers in Charge out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We have 12 chapters in different cities. But I tell you, my fight has just begun. It's okay to have conflict. It's okay to disagree, to agree. But what we do, we have to learn how to walk away from different things. It's not okay to take someone's life. I don't know where I would be if I didn't have a community that collaborated. I was able to build relationships and do what I'm doing. KC Mothers in Charge, we also have a hope and healing support. We do every third Thursday from 5 to 7 at our office location. The first hour we come, for 2 hours, we talk about a pain. If we angry, we cry, we scream. But the second hour, we come together. I bring someone in that has been a part of that investigation, like every month. First month in January, we had homicide come in. So when you lose your child, your norm has been broken. You don't know who you are. You're in fear. I remember the first year I was scared to stay in my own home, and Pee-wee didn't even stay with me. I felt like if you violated me by taking my child, what more would you do? So the organization with Mothers in Charge, with Hope and Healing Support, we bring the people to the families. We call over 300 families weekly in the organization to reach out to them, let them know we still care. Because people do go back to normal life. It's normal. But for us, our life would never be normal. I just want to thank everybody. This is a hard-moving thing to do. You know, I would never be the same, but I do know who I am today. I'm walking in my purpose. I'm walking in my purpose. I'm fighting in my community to make a difference. If I can just save one life, it's a lot. Thank you.